This video is for those who joined the National Guard or Reserves and are thinking,
how the heck do I get that post 9/11 GI Bill?
If you want active duty, it's really simple. Just finish your active duty contract and get an honorable discharge. That's it. However, for those that went with the National Guard or Reserves, it's not quite that simple, and it's not even guaranteed. The post 9/11 GI Bill is an incredible benefit for eligible US veterans who served on or after September 11th, 2001. This benefit potentially enables veterans to get college entirely paid for and receive a tax-free monthly stipend every month they are enrolled in college. But for reservists and guardsmen, it is not as simple as signing and finishing a contract in order to become eligible for this benefit. The specific eligibility requirements for guardsmen and reservists are as follows. You must serve at least 90 days of federally qualifying active duty orders on or after September 11th, 2001. And this is where it gets tricky. We need to take a few minutes and discuss what these orders specifically are, because not every set of orders is created equal or will qualify you for these benefits. Title 10 orders are the largest set of orders that will qualify you for the GI Bill. However, there are many subsets of Title 10 orders that will make you eligible. But the crux of this is that Title 10 orders are generally GWAT deployments. Now, technically the GWAT is over, but there are still opportunities to do abroad deployments that do count as Title 10 orders. The second type of orders is Title 10 and Title 32 AGR orders, or Active Guard Reserves. So while you may have joined the Guard or Reserves, you are not active duty. However, there is opportunity to get an active duty position within the Guard or Reserves. These are typically done by applying for these jobs within your Guard unit or Reserve unit, or potentially a different Guard or Reserve unit. You can apply for these jobs the same way a civilian would apply for a job out in town. However, obviously you already know these people. You work with them on drill weekends and on other assignments, and you have that relationship and that network already there. So applying for these AGR positions is a fantastic way to accumulate active duty time and become eligible for the post 9/11 GI Bill. Other type of Title 32 orders are things like federal emergencies. We've had a tremendous number of these over the last few years. Qualifying orders included Operation Noble Eagle, which was back in the early 2000s. You also have the Southwest border crisis, which is more recent. You have the COVID pandemic response, which is again more recent and many people have benefited from in the sense of GI Bill eligibility. And you also had President Biden's presidential inauguration. These were incredible opportunities for guardsmen and reservists to accumulate over 90 days of federal time to become eligible for the post 9/11 GI Bill. However, I have heard stories and instances where people's units got kind of screwed, where they cut them off right before the 90-day mark and prevented them from getting that post 9/11 GI Bill eligibility. If you are one of these people, I'd love to hear a story. Let us know in the comments, because I am curious. I only know a couple people that were impacted by this, but if you are one of them, let us know in the comments and let's hash it out. And the last way to become eligible is to serve for 30 days and be discharged for a service-connected disability. So notice that there's nothing in there saying that boot camp, tech school, or any training periods qualify you for the GI Bill. While yes, those are technically active duty orders because you are there for full-time components, they do not meet the standard for the Title 10, Title 32 federally mandated orders. Those are really just like requirements to get in the military. You have to learn your job. Those tech schools, those boot camp days, unfortunately, do not count for GI Bill eligibility. And let's be real, if they did count, that would make this way too easy, and nobody would join active duty. If they could go to tech school for 3 months, then earn the GI Bill, they would take that any day of the week. So just because you're going to tech school does not mean you're getting one up on the active duty counterparts who have to serve a full 36 months plus to get their GI Bill eligibility. So the last 20 years, but especially the last 3 years, have been great for National Guard and Reservists wanting to become eligible for the GI Bill, whether it be deployments to the Middle East or deployments here at home for COVID and the border crisis and all these things. It's been fantastic. However, looking forward, it's gonna be, unless things change, which obviously they always can change, it's gonna be a lot harder for reservists and guardsmen to become eligible for the GI Bill. You're going to be fully relying on getting an AGR position, or you're gonna be relying on more pandemics or more natural disasters where the federal government is actually funding these orders and funding the guard or reservist to be activated in order to respond to these circumstances. So really, if you're banking on getting the GI Bill as a guardsman or reservist, you essentially have to be hoping for things to go poorly for the country, maybe for the world. So probably not worth it in the long run. Now, let's talk about the 90-day minimum requirement. These are aggregate days. This means that you get to add up your active duty days in order to achieve that 90-day requirement, or even surpass that and get that 36-month total. So obviously, you're not likely gonna get 36 months of active duty time in your initial guardsman or reservist contract, but if you're due maybe 2 contracts, 3 contracts, and so on, you may become eligible for that 100% GI Bill eligibility mark. But at the end of the day, 90 aggregate days only gets you 50% of the GI Bill. So with that being said, let's discuss the tiered system of GI Bill eligibility. As I said, you do not have to complete 90 days, 6 months, so on and so forth in one chunk of orders in order to meet that eligibility. These are all aggregate, meaning you could do 1 month here and then 2 years later do another month and so on and so forth. Add those together to become eligible. And at 90 days or 3 months for you math geniuses, you get 50% of the GI Bill. At 6 months of orders, you get 60% of the GI Bill. At 18 months of orders, you get 70% of the GI Bill. At 24 months of orders, you get 80% of the GI Bill. At 30 months, you get 90% of the GI Bill. And at 36 months or 3 years, which happens to be typically the minimum active duty contract available, or if you do 30 days and are medically discharged due to an injury or medical disability, then at that point, you become fully eligible for 100% of the GI Bill. Now, what exactly does a percentage of the GI Bill mean? For context, someone with 100% of GI Bill eligibility can go to an in-state public school completely free. Or if they decide to go to an out-of-state public school or a private school, they are capped at roughly $25,000 per year. This number obviously fluctuates as the cost of education changes, so that is roughly what it is today, subject to change. If you have a percentage of the GI Bill, anything under 100%, the limit remains the same. $25,000 is still the limit for your GI Bill use. However, just as it sounds, the VA is only going to pay for X% of your tuition. So if you have a 70% rating of the GI Bill, the VA is only going to pay 70% of your tuition. Similarly, the VA is only going to pay that same percent of your monthly BAH stipend. So for example, let's say that you max out your GI Bill at a out-of-state public school that costs $25,000 per year, and you only have 70% eligibility for your GI Bill. This means that you did a total of 18 months aggregate active duty time. $25,000 limit, you have 70%. This means that the VA is only going to pay for $17,500 of your tuition. Similarly, if you are going to that school and the BAH rate, E5 with dependents, is $2,000 per month. 70% of that $2,000 is $1,400 per month. So you're just chopping everything by whatever percent you are eligible for. It's really that easy and not rocket science. So you can easily calculate what your stipend is going to be. You can easily calculate what the VA is going to cover for your tuition and what you are going to have to cover for the tuition. And that's where I want to talk about, where are you going to get the difference? If you are only eligible for 70% and you have money left over that you have to cover, where are you going to get that? And so I want to talk about 3 places that I would focus on if I were in this position and I had to cover the difference. The first place that I've said in other videos is FAFSA, the financial aid application, where you put in obviously your financials and comebacks with eligibility. And so the places that I want to make sure you absolutely fill out this application every year, and that you only accept grants and scholarships. So we're looking for money that is not debt and money that you do not have to repay. And these are both grants and scholarships. So the Pell Grant is like $6,000 a year. Scholarships can be way more, way less. And so this is the opportunity where this is a no-brainer. Everybody should be applying for FAFSA, even when using their GI Bill. The second place that you should be looking is scholarships, whether it be directly through the school or scholarships found third party on Google or other websites. Yes, this is going to take legwork, this is going to take time, but if you can write one essay and use it for multiple applications, then it's a no-brainer to be sending out these applications for scholarships that can range from $500 to $50,000. This is not an exercise in futility, and absolutely something that you should be doing and putting in that legwork if you owe additional money outside of what the GI Bill will cover. The last one that I would recommend is get a job. It's not that difficult, and studies show that those that work while in school actually get better grades. It's going to force you to have better time management skills and force you to concentrate. And so if you have a job, it doesn't have to be sexy. You can deliver pizzas, you can make coffee at Starbucks, you can be a number of things. And maybe even certain employers will give money towards your education, where you're not only making money, but places like Starbucks or heck, McDonald's that will give money towards education per year. You can stack it onto what you have as a difference between the VA and what you actually owe. Or the best option yet, if you did time in the reserves or the Guard and you received a VA rating of 10% or more, you are likely eligible for VRE, or Veteran Rehabilitation and Employment. And I made a video about this where I call it GI Bill 2.0 because it's an incredible opportunity to potentially get 100% of your tuition covered. And so if the GI Bill doesn't cover 100% of it, potentially if you have a 10% rating or more, then VRE may cover 100%. So go check out that video here, find out if you're eligible, and if you are, apply. And that way you may not have to work a job and you may still get 100% of your tuition covered. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Definitely check out this video. It's a gold mine, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.